Saturday morning on Denver 7.
No woman is free until we're all free.
Where they're sharing the message that you can be for women at the same time that you're against abortion.
The midterm elections are heating up and activists are taking to the streets to advocate for their causes. Details on the demonstrations making their post-2020 return today. The White House downplaying warnings from President Biden about nuclear activity overseas.
And we don't assess that President Putin has made a decision to use nuclear weapons at this time.
Plus, the latest on the explosion that's now threatening transportation between mainland Russia and southern Ukraine. Back here at home, you can get in the spooky mindset starting this weekend. How you can meet some spirits at Boulder's oldest cemetery in town. We're following breaking news right now. Broomfield police are now at the First Tier Bank on Destination Way. That's close to Wadsworth and Highway I-125. That's because someone broke into the bank overnight and is now refusing to come out. SWAT is on the scene and surrounding businesses are now on lockout. We'll keep you posted as the situation progresses. Good morning. Welcome to Denver 7 News. I'm Jessica Crawford.
And I'm Katie LaSalle. Thank you so much for joining us here. We'll start with some of the stories we're following for you this weekend.
Thornton police are asking for your help finding this woman. 66-year-old Deborah Devolt was last seen walking in the area of 103rd and York around 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Police say she's anywhere from 5'3" to 5'5". Her hair has grayed since this photo was taken. She has hazel eyes. She was last seen wearing a long blue coat. If you see her or have any information, call 911.
Well, Aurora police are still without a chief this weekend, and now that the department is back on the drawing board, they're focusing on connecting with the community. So today, the APD officers will be out at Hero Fest, and it's an event focused on celebrating first responders while also making them accessible to the people they serve.
Events like this are extremely important for the community and police officers. It allows us to interact with each other in a non-enforcement positive light, which builds trust amongst law enforcement and the community.
So if you're interested in attending, you can head to the Aurora Town Center from noon until 4. The department will also have video games and other fun stuff for your family to enjoy, and the event is free.
Arvada Fire is opening its first new fire station in more than 40 years, and the new station is near Highway 72 and Candelas Parkway. It will serve the Candelas community and the northwest corner of Arvada. The station includes a brush truck specially equipped to respond to wildfires, and the grand opening of the station is at 9 today.
And taking a live look outside this morning, it was cloudy and cool yesterday, and we're starting off with a little more cloud coverage here across the Denver area, but the sun will be out in full force as we get into later on today. So some areas of patchy fog and even frost over the northeastern corner of Colorado. Right now we're in the 40s downtown and out to the airport, only 40 degrees in Aurora and Castle Rock, and 20s to low 30s out to the west from Estes Park to Fraser and Dillon. Further to the north and east, Sterling, Julesburg under a frost warning this morning with temperatures hovering at or just below freezing. That will last until at least 8 a.m. But then we'll see mostly sunny skies and temperatures will rebound quickly. By 10 we'll get to 50 degrees in Denver and daytime highs will be pleasant this afternoon. We're back in the 60s here for the metro area down to Highlands Ranch and over the northeastern plains. We do have some warmer weather on the way. I'll take you through the extended forecast still to come.
After a 2-year hiatus, Women's March Denver is returning to Civic Center Park this morning, and that's where we find Denver 7's Brandon Richard. Brandon, when do things kick off?
Well, things will kick off this morning at 9 o'clock with a rally, and you might see over my shoulder here, they're already setting the stage up for that. That rally will feature a number of progressive women leaders. Now, that will be followed by the actual march at 10 o'clock this morning. We spoke with one of the organizers. She says that this year's event will really focus on equality and reproductive rights. The U.S. Supreme Court's decision this summer overturning Roe v. Wade and the constitutional right to an abortion has angered many people, many progressives across the country. It's one of the top issues heading into the midterm election in November. And the chair of this year's march says she hopes it inspires women to participate in the political process.
It's important because we all need to remember to stay fully engaged in our democracy. We need to stay up to date on the candidates and the issues, and we need to make sure that we're getting out and voting every single time.
And there's also a counter protest planned for this morning. Students for Life say they will be out here representing people and women in particular who are against abortion rights. Both sides, though, say they plan to be respectful even if they disagree politically. We're live this morning in downtown. Brandon Richard, Denver 7.
Brandon, thank you. And that's not the only march taking place. There's also a march in Boulder today in favor of reproductive rights. The YWCA of Boulder County will be in front of the Boulder County Courthouse. That starts at 9 o'clock this morning. The organization says today's march is in conjunction with the events happening in Denver and across the country. And they're advocating for anyone curious for information about today's event to head over to action.womensmarch.com.
So it is about to be a busy day across the metro, but there's also going to be a protest to honor the lives of young women lost in a suicide bombing attack in Afghanistan last week. For weeks, there's been demonstrations in the Middle East in the name of women's rights. And today, starting at 5:30 at our Capitol in Denver, a group will be gathering to spread awareness of these events.
3 people are now dead after an explosion on the Kerch Bridge overnight. That's one of the main connectors between Russia and southern Ukraine, which means important supplies like fuel and food may not reach people who really need it. And this comes as the White House continues to downplay President Joe Biden's warnings that the world is at risk of nuclear Armageddon. ABC's Ty Hernandez has the latest.
The Biden administration is downplaying remarks by the president in which he said Russian President Vladimir Putin's threats to use tactical nuclear weapons pose the greatest prospect of Armageddon since President Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis. The State Department is echoing similar remarks by the White House, saying the U.S. has not seen a reason to adjust its nuclear posture or seen any indication Russia is preparing to use nuclear weapons in the near future.
What President Biden was speaking to yesterday was how seriously we take these threats and how seriously we take the threats of nuclear weapons.
All this after President Biden spoke at an off-camera fundraiser, saying he knows Putin well and he's not joking when he talks about potential use of nuclear weapons or biological or chemical weapons.
We have been quite clear about that when Russian officials have made this threat over the course of this conflict. This kind of irresponsible rhetoric is not something that should be coming from a leader of an armed nuclear state.
It comes as President Biden believes Putin is growing more desperate on the battlefield after a series of Ukrainian military successes in recent weeks. In Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky says he doesn't think Russia is ready to use nuclear weapons yet, but officials there are laying the groundwork with the Russian public, saying this to the BBC.
They begin to prepare their society. That is very dangerous.
Ukraine says 200 square miles of its territory and dozens of settlements have been retaken in the south in the past week, and Ukrainian forces are also advancing in the east. Ty Hernandez, ABC News, New York.
Well, it is an issue we have reported on a lot. Auto theft. According to a recent study, Colorado leads the nation for it, and 4 cities, Denver, Aurora, Westminster, and Pueblo, rank in the top 10 for vehicles stolen. And these are certainly not titles we're proud of. But now people in the metro are trying to gather resources to fight back against it. There was a community meeting last night focusing on just that, taking questions and concerns directly to elected leaders and Aurora police, including their own experiences after cars were stolen.
Right now, there's people, I met a woman that her only means of transportation was stolen. She didn't even have a ride to get to the impound lot to pick her car up. I took her to the impound lot. Her car was so damaged, she just relinquished her car at the impound. The only thing she got out of her car was a picture of her son when he was younger. That was the only thing that was left. Everything else in the car was trash.
Aurora Police Division Chief Jan Lanigan says it is no secret that APD is short officers right now, and that's why they can't come out every time a car is stolen. But it is important to call APD HQ to make sure their car's information is in the system. So there is some good news this morning. September 5th to October 2nd, auto theft in Aurora dropped by about 14%. And Lanigan says that's due to some targeted work officers that are doing.
And now let's take a look at some more of the work that's being done to crack down on these car thefts. So this summer, Aurora was working on a resolution and an ordinance that would create a mandatory minimum sentence of 60 days for those arrested for car theft. It would also impose a 10-day mandatory minimum sentence for those who fail to appear in court. Now, on the state level, Governor Jared Polis wrote a letter to the Colorado Commission on Criminal and Juvenile Justice calling for increased penalties for those convicted of auto theft. And the commission makes recommendations which the legislature can choose to address, but is not required to.
We have body cam footage out of Platteville raising more alarming questions now. We first told you about a train that plowed into a Platteville police car that was parked on train tracks. A woman in handcuffs was in the back seat of that cruiser. That happened on US 85 and County Road 36 about 3 weeks ago. Well, following the crash that night, footage shows Platteville Police Sergeant Pablo Vasquez claiming he had no idea his squad car was on the tracks and had no idea another officer put 20-year-old Ureni Rios Gonzalez in his back seat.
I didn't realize how close I was to the tracks, and it took the rear end of my car and it just spun it. I didn't think the Lupton officer was going to put her in my car. I just didn't, and she did. She put her in my car.
Body cam also shows an officer speaking to the train engineer, so let's take a listen.
Come around that curve, it looks deceiving. It's thought you were on the side of the road there. Yeah, and then as we get closer in, when our headlights hit the vehicle, it's like, man, that's too late. It's too late.
Wow, Rios Gonzalez survived the crash with multiple injuries, including 9 broken bones.
October is known for Halloween, of course, but there are a lot of other important holidays too. How you can participate in Dia de los Muertos and Indigenous Peoples Day next.